It's full-on summer, and that means I'm pulling my reggae records off the shelf again to enjoy this wonderfully laid-back, summery music. Some people think all reggae sounds the same and that it all blends together.
Oh, does she know that one song? Chaka, chaka. What's that song called? Oh, right. It's called Every Reggae Song.
And while that statement might hold a grain of truth, I absolutely love the cadence that reggae music carries. It's the perfect soundtrack for a relaxed, sunny day. There's a wealth of reggae that's well worth diving into. Music that, alongside its irresistible, easygoing vibe, often carries a deceptively militant and political message. In a future episode, we'll dig into all the musical beauty that the island of Jamaica has gifted us over the decades. But before we get to that, we'll start with the man who transcends the reggae genre. The man who put reggae on the global map. I'm of course talking about none other than the legend himself, Bob Marley.
Hey Bobby Marley, sing something good to me. Yeah, this world go crazy. It's an emergency.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of We're Only in It for the Music, a brand new YouTube series that takes you on a musical journey through videos about pop, rock, jazz, blues, soul, and funk. In other words, from ABBA to Zappa and everything in between. If you're enjoying this series, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll always be the first to know when a new episode drops. But enough of that. Never mind the bollocks, we're only in it for the music.
What Johnny Cash is to country music, and what Metallica is to heavy metal, that's what Bob Marley is to reggae, an artist who defines the entire genre. Bob was the first to introduce the outside world to this Jamaican music, which has its roots in ska, a high-energy dance music style that was hugely popular on the island in the 1950s and 60s. Ska was the soundtrack of Jamaican street life, and you could say reggae is basically a slower, more laid-back version of ska. In fact, if you play a ska single at 33.5 RPM, you'll instantly hear reggae. Likewise, if you spin a Bob Marley LP at 45 RPM, you can give his laid-back grooves a tempo boost. It works both ways. Some say that reggae's famously lazy tempo was heavily influenced by the use of ganja, but as far as I know, no definitive proof has ever been found for that theory. Even though Bob Marley only lived to be 36, he left behind a remarkable body of work with his backing band, The Wailers. Most people are familiar with his biggest hits. The compilation, Legend. The Best of Bob Marley still stands as the best-selling reggae album of all time. But if you listen to his full albums from beginning to end, yes, even if it means getting out of your hammock every 20 minutes to flip the record, you'll discover a treasure trove of album tracks that the casual listener has likely missed. And because it's summer, I've crawled out of my hammock, not just for you, but for the music of Bob Marley, and dove deep into his discography. Putting together a top 10 of his best reggae songs is nearly impossible, but I've managed to handpick a beautiful bouquet of Marley tunes that, in my humble opinion, rank among his very best. Of course, that also means a lot of great songs didn't make the final cut. In Marley's case, that says nothing about their quality. It's just the brutal truth of top 10 lists. You have to make tough choices. For this ranking, I limited myself to the so-called island albums. The records Bob Marley and the Wailers released on Chris Blackwell's Island Records between 1973 and 1983. Okay, enough stoned rambling. Let's get started. Ready? Steady. Go! We kick off this list with number 10, and for many, probably an obscure choice, Forever Loving Jah, from the Uprising album, released in 1980. It's not one of Marley's most widely known tracks. It was never released as a single, but the religious or rather spiritual side of Marley's Rastafari faith and life philosophy is beautifully expressed in this song. Uprising was the last album Bob Marley released during his lifetime, and it feels fitting to both begin, or in a sense, end, this top 10 with it. Although technically, we're just getting started. We've only just begun. The Carpenters, anyone? At number 9,
Number 9,
we find Redemption Song, once again from the Uprising album. Many will argue that this iconic track is ranked far too low. But the simple truth is, Bob Marley wrote too many brilliant songs. Of course, Redemption Song is essential and absolutely deserves a spot on this list. 2 versions were recorded, one full band version and one acoustic solo take. And to me, the stripped-down version is the stronger of the 2. Marley's bare-bones performance gives the song a raw urgency that the full band take lacks. Although the slightly stilted timing and phrasing of his words here and there can interrupt the flow a bit. Still, ranking this classic at number 9 might seem like a crime, until you realize that Marley recorded around 170 songs. In that context, Redemption Song clearly sits among the highest peaks of his body of work. At number 8, we find the protest anthem, War, taken from the Rastaman Vibration album, released in 1976. In the nearly 50 years since its release, this track hasn't lost an ounce of its power. In fact, it might be more relevant today than ever. We hear Marley and the Wailers deliver a militant, no-nonsense condemnation of the consequences of war. The lyrics are almost entirely taken from a speech delivered by Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie I before the 18th session of the UN General Assembly on October 4, 1963. Echoing an earlier speech he made in 1936 to the League of Nations, after Italy had invaded Ethiopia the year before, forcing him into exile. Bob was always politically conscious and served, for many Jamaicans, as a kind of singing news source. Those without access to newspapers or radio would hear through the early songs of Bob and the Wailers what was happening on the island. Marley was far more than just a reggae singer. He was an iconic messianic figure with a mission to make the world a better place through his music and his Rastafari faith. Bob wanted to unite the world. One love indeed. Number 7 in this top 10 is Punky Reggae Party, the B-side to the jamming single from 1977. The build-up in this track is simply irresistible when Marley invites you to join the celebration. New wave! You brave! He chants at the start. The song was written as a positive response to the cover version of Junior Murvin's Police and Thieves by the British punk band The Clash. Marley name drops not only The Clash, but also The Damned, The Jam, The Maytals, and Dr. Feelgood. Marley often rapped serious political messages in catchy reggae rhythms, allowing his music to function on multiple levels. You can zone out and relax in a hammock while listening to the tune, or you can focus on the lyrics and realize that Marley had a sharp, all-seeing eye for what was going on in the world around him. Marley once said, "We don't have education, we have inspiration. If I was educated, I would be a damn fool." We go back a few years for number 6. Get Up, Stand Up from 1973 featured on the Burnin' album. It might be starting to look like I have a particular fondness for Marley's protest songs, but don't worry, folks, there are some great love songs still to come. In Get Up, Stand Up, Marley calls on people to stand up for their rights. Once again, we're looking at a song that has aged incredibly well, both musically and thematically. In an era where people across the globe are standing up and demanding justice, this song from the Jamaican Prophet feels more relevant than ever. That's why it earns its place at number 6 on this list. Now we head back to 1977, the year of the album Exodus, arguably the best album in Bob Marley's catalog. Earlier, I promised that this top 10 would include a few beautiful love songs, and Bob delivers on that promise. The Exodus album could have easily filled this entire top 10, but I wanted to give you a well-rounded collection of Marley tracks from various stages of his career. Besides, I'll admit, I'm personally not the biggest fan of songs like 3 Little Birds or One Love. Sure, they're classics. I'd never crawl out of my hammock to skip them, but I think Exodus contains much stronger material. Turn Your Lights Down Low is the only track on side B of Exodus that wasn't originally released as a single. That was later corrected in 1999, when the song was re-recorded as a duet with ex-Fugees Lauryn Hill, and it became a #1 hit in the UK. The song is sultry, sensual, slow-burning, and completely irresistible. And that's why it earns its spot at the heart of this top 10. At number 4, we find Trenchtown Rock. Originally released in 1971, but it's the live version from 4 years later that truly shines. This song opens the legendary 1975 Life album with the immortal line, "One good thing about music, when it hits, you feel no pain." Here, Marley transforms from reggae rebel into poetic protester. Hit me with music! And Marley's music hits me, every time. Rarely has a Life album sounded this good. Rarely has an opening track been this strong. Rarely has an opening line been this iconic. As great as the Island Studio albums are, nothing beats Bob Marley and the Wailers' Life. We enter the top 3 and stay with that same 1975 live album for the iconic performance of No Woman, No Cry, originally released a year earlier on the Natty Dread album. The studio version simply can't match the chemistry and magic that Marley and the Wailers conjure on stage in this passionate live rendition. Everything about this version is classic. The smoldering organ intro, the deep soul in Marley's voice, the way he references Trench Town in the lyrics. While this could be said for many Marley songs, I couldn't possibly make a top 10 without including No Woman, No Cry. You could say No Woman, No Cry, no top 10. From the very first time I placed my eyes on you, girl, my heart said follow through. But I know now that I'm way down on your line. But the wait and feel is fine. My, oh my. When I hear those lines, you could carry me away. Hammock and all, this is such an incredibly beautiful song. There's Marley the fighter, the rebel, and then there's Marley the romantic, the seducer. Maybe that explains the number of children he had. The way Bob opens his heart so vulnerably here, speaking directly to the one he loves, who keeps him waiting, touches me more deeply than most love songs ever do. Love songs come in all shapes and sizes, but Waiting in Vain, once again from the Exodus album, remember that name, is on a whole different level. You see, in life I know there's lots of grief, but your love is my relief. That says it all. There's so much pain in life, but your love makes it bearable, makes it lighter. To the casual listener, this might sound like just another love song, but if you really pay attention to the lyrics, it cuts straight through your soul and gives you goosebumps on the hottest summer day. And finally, at number 1, Exodus, from the legendary album of the same name, released in 1977. Some might argue that this top spot belongs to Redemption Song, and while that track radiates peace and acceptance, becoming synonymous with the final chapter of Marley's life. Exodus takes you on a journey, a mass departure toward the unknown. Babylon is left behind, traded for the fatherland. But what is the fatherland? Is it a return to where we came from, or are we venturing into unfamiliar territory in search of our roots? For Marley, it's a spiritual return to the origins of Rastafari, and Exodus is a rallying cry for the movement of Jah people. Marley is longing for a return to Zion, a return to Ethiopia, the promised land for the Rastafaris. Open your eyes, Marley chants. The live version from the Rainbow Theatre is even more electrifying than the studio cut, leaving us, his listeners and followers, in pure ecstasy. Bob Marley's catalog is full of classics, global hits, deep album cuts, and unforgettable live recordings. Choosing just 10 songs from all this greatness is a challenge, one that's bound to leave out many gems. But to me, the combination of the music, the message, and the performance in Exodus captures the true essence of Bob Marley and the Wailers better than any other song. So that's why it is my number 1 Bob Marley song. And that was it. The 10 greatest Bob Marley songs. Of course, this list is far from complete, so here are a few honorable mentions. Is This Love from the Kaya album? Another romantic gem? Must Be the Summer. Or maybe I'm just falling in love. Slave Driver from Catch a Fire shows the politically charged side of Marley's work. Though never released as a single, it remains one of his strongest early songs. And let's not forget, Could You Be Loved?
I Shot the Sheriff, Sun is Shining, Jamming, Soul Rebel, Soul Shakedown Party, Lively Up Yourself, Concrete Jungle, Then Belly Full But We Hungry, Iron Lion Zion.
The list is endless. And finally, Pimper's Paradise. From the Uprising album, a unique track in which Marley shares sharp observations that, for once, don't center on injustice or revolution. Instead, he sings about a woman at a party where more is being consumed than just a duty. And just like that, we've come full circle. Back to where this list began, back to the end of Marley's life, back to Uprising, 1980. That was episode 6. That was Bob Marley and the Wailers, his 10 greatest songs. What do you think of Bob Marley? What are your favorite Bob Marley songs? What does your top 10 look like? Leave a comment below and don't forget to check out all the songs from this series in the Spotify playlist, link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. And in the meantime, drop the needle, press play, and remember, we're only in it for the music.